about one of the. Okay, are you going to record this lecture as well? This presentation?
If it is okay with you, we can.
It's okay. It's okay. And if you can share with me, so many people are waiting for it. So
Good. It will be available on our YouTube channel.
So today, thanks a lot, first of all, Martina ma'am and the team of Slovakia that gave me this chance to bring out this presentation in front of you people. That is basically on the Ramayana as the eco-centric epic. Now, as far as the world of literature is concerned, as we have seen, in the case of world literature, English literature, Indian literature, Hindi literature, and just recently in the case of Dahiya ma'am, we have seen it in the form of Haryani literature. That how nature has intertwined with the form of various literature. Now today, as far as this presentation is concerned, I would like to bring the notice of all of us towards the root of how the threads of nature has fabricated the world of literature. That from where this, the interrelationship between the literature and nature has been started. From where, what was the spark? So today, we shall try to discuss it from the very ancient literature of world, that is, the Ramayana, in the form of Ramayana, from where it started. This entire journey has been started, initiated. The evolution of epic, the form of epic itself started from the Maharishi Valmiki, from where he saw the merciless killing of the conch, or you can say the white swan, by one of the hunter when he was going to have a bath in the river, and then after this painful watching the destruction of the nature, Valmiki utters certain lines, and that lines are, as you can see on the screen, Ma Nisad Pratistham Tamagamah Saswati Samah Yat Pranchanam Mithuna Dekam Avadhi Kamamohitam. Means that he was not very much painful when he could see that, he had to see that killing, merciless killing of the white swan. And at the time when he was having the conjugal, relationship with the counterpart, the white female swan. And at that time when the hunter kills this male swan, that poetry starts. And that is the beginning, that is for all of us. That is the beginning of the poetical composition on the planet Earth by Maharishi Valmiki. And that is considered in the Sanskrit. And Sanskrit, as we all know, that is the mother of all the languages. And in the case of Sanskrit as well, in the case of mother of all the languages, this is the first verse, poetical verse, that has initiated the journey of literature for the humanity for larger perspective. And it was also especially from the perspective of the painful destruction of the nature that poet could not bear, and poet has to utter this kind of, versification, and that becomes the beginning of Ramayana. That's why in today's presentation, I would emphasize that Ramayana is an epic which is based on the eco-centric evolution, or you can say the germination spark of having the presentation of nature through the versification. Now, in the next, as I have translated these lines, Ma Nisad, you can see that, O Nisad, hunter, because of your killing of one of the crowns, that is the white swan, who was engaged in love, may you never obtain peace. This is the beginning of Ramayana. And out of this, when he speaks to one of the poet, one of the rishi just nearby him, that was the Rishi Bharadwaj, who was accompanying him at that time when this poetical composition takes place. He says, I have just pronounced something that is sequenced in 8 by 8 letters. Means this is a versification, that he realizes that it is a versification that came out of my spontaneous outflow of emotions. And it has 4 equal receptions, means the pad, that is divided into the 4, parts, making it the 32 letters poetical recital. He explained himself, unbelievably, Rishi Bharadwaj was also stupefied to say anything because it was the first creation of poetic composition on the planet Earth. Apart from everything, this slok becomes the first slok, the poetic verse in any language of the mankind. Now, as we have discussed about it, that that what was the reason behind that, that poetical composition, why it becomes very much special to be discussed here at the international platform. I hope my language is understandable for you, madam. Yeah. So as a poet, Mahasi Valmiki introduces one of the most scientific way of expressing one of one's emotion. Through it, it is believed that the verse flows out of his mouth, but it has a deep bondage with nature, that nature itself help him to express his feeling through the Anusthup chanda. Now, let us move towards that. What was that invention, that poetical invention, that strategy that Mahasi Valmiki has brought to the earth, to the humanity? That is the Anusthup chanda, 32 alphabet divided into the 4 sloks or pada. And pad basically means the leg, that the legs of animal, usually having the 4 legs, of 8 alphabet multiplied by 4 becomes the 32. Numbering pattern itself brings us very near to the mother nature. According to the numerological pattern, 32 symbolizes progress and enlightenment, and whereas the 4 stands for the dimension and legs of mammals and support and stability. Even wherever we are having the sofas or the beds, they are having the 4 legs. That is the reason of having the 4 as the pada or the stability behind that. Now, Anusthup chanda belongs to the Purusarth Chaturtha as well. That 4 belongs to the Purusarth Chaturtha. That is in the Indian mythology, that Dharma, Arth, Kama, Moksha. And even the stage of life, that various stage of life, Brahmacharya Asram, Vanprastha Asram, all this belongs to the stage of life. That there are 4 stages of life. Even Vedas are 4, and swastiks are also having the 4 significant dimensions. At the same time, number 8 represents the victory. And in case of poetical composition, that becomes the pattern to be imitated by the following poets of Sanskrit especially. And even in contemporary time, people are reciting these sloks with whole lot of the precision and presentation. Now, Anusthup itself, the word means in Sanskrit prosperity, prosperity and overcome, or to praise after, to follow in praising. And that reference I have taken from the Devat Brahman, quoted from Nirukta Yaksa in chapter 7 and 12th slok. Now, let us move towards this, the relationship of Indian poetical aspects with the European poetical aspects. From that word itself, 8, as you can see on the screen, that 8, as I can bring it to your notice, that here you can see the 8. This 8 belongs to the English language, came as the ehata from Old English and German ahto, and that is very much near, and that germinated from the ast of the Sanskrit. Now, this is the relationship, that how, that it is the presentation through which I would like to bring to your notice that it brings a kind of, the kind of relationship between the literature with the culture, and how the cultures have expressed their loans with each other, and how ultimately we need to reach at the nature itself instead of having the divisions of the culture. Now, in the verse itself, it is this Anusthup chand has been employed in Bhagavad Gita as well, Mahabharata, Vedas, Puranas, and Smritis. There are so many references. We shall discuss it in the time to come, but at least this Anusthup chanda, which have the 4 legs and 8 fold compositional aspects in the letters in the each pad, that is bringing us to the notice that it has a larger influence on the world. Next to that, let us have this, the presentation from the 18th century National Museum. As you can see on the screen, that Delhi itself, in the National Museum, we can see that the killing of the hunter. As you can see on the screen, this is a hunter on the right-hand side corner. That white swan was killed by him unknowingly, and the female swan is crying. She is also not happy watching the killing of the innocent bird. But at the same time, Rishi, this Maharshi Valmiki, as you can see on your left-hand side, he happens to observe that the innocent killing of the bird, and that's why this composition comes out from his mouth. I hope these things are clear to you. Now, allusion from the Vedas and Upanishads. Now, which are the allusions? As you can see on your screen, allusions have been used in the the case of Ramayana. Ramayana has various allusions from the Vedas, Upanishads, even the Smritis, Puranas. Now, as you can see on the screen, the Lord Ram, the hero of the epic, is breaking a bow, which was the golden bow gifted to Lord Parsuram, one of the legendary rishi of that time, gifted by Shiv himself. The Lord Mahadev gifted it to the Parsuram. But to marry Sita, as we can see on the left-hand side corner, Sri Ram breaks this bow. It was, that Swayamvar, that Sita had to select the person who will be able to break this bow. And, that was the condition kept by the father of Sita, that the person who can lift this bow, the gifted bow by the Lord Shiv himself, would be only the person who can marry my daughter, that is Sita. And Sita would select those persons, that person only who would be valiant enough to hold this bow and put the string on that bow. But meanwhile, when Sri Ram, the big fighters failed in case of lifting this bow itself, it was very sad moment that how it would be possible, because this was the mythological bow gifted by Mahadev to the Parsuram. But meanwhile, when the turn of Sri Ram comes, Sri Ram hold it properly, and when he tried to put the string upon it, it gets broken. Now, this broken bow brings out the wrath or anger of Parsuram, and that Parsuram, after all, tries to kill him or tries to fight with him and tries to take the revenge. But ultimately, Lord Ram, that the central, our hero of the epic, goes down to him peacefully and tries to appease him by saying that better than me, you are the gifted person. Why are you having this conflict with me? Instead of having any kind of conflict, let us go smoothly by mutual understanding. And then Parsuram, whose reference has been mentioned in the Devi Bhagavatam, Vishnu Puran, Vayu Puran, Bhagavad Puran, and Mahabharata as well, appeases with the hero, central hero of Ramayana, and the disaster, that anger turns into the happiness, happy ending of the marriage between the Sri Ram and the Sita. Now, subsequently, another allusion that is most important for us from the ecological point of view. Why this text is ecological or eco-centric fiction, or I would say the epic or the history as well. The reason is that it has the central incident of having the golden deer visualized by the heroine of the epic, that is Ma Sita. She was enticed by the beauty of this golden deer, as you can see on your screen. She asked the hero to bring this golden deer to her. In the pursuit of Sri Ram, this golden deer, it was the kind of trap for the Sri Ram, trap to drag away Sita from Sri Ram and the trap was prepared by none other than the villain of the Ramayana, Ravan himself. That if Ram goes behind that golden deer, and Ram himself was knowing that deer cannot be golden, but according to the demand of a female, he had to pursue that golden deer. And that in the pursuit of this golden deer, on the other side, when he pursues the golden deer, on the other side, Ravan abducts Sita and brings her to his island, that is Sri Lanka. And then the entire conflict between the Ram and the Ravan starts. So at the center of the entire conflict of the epic is also the nature, where nature was forged into the culture, that is the deer forged into the golden deer, that the entire disaster or the turning point of the epic takes place. Now, according to this, this tradition of the Ramayana, it is composed in the Anusthup chanda, but at the same time, there is one of the mention of the Gayatri Mantra as well in the third mandal and 62, part of it, and 10th slok, that is Gayatri Mantra by Vishwamitra. That is also one of the, the significant gift to the world, I would say, at large, that the scientific mantra has been given. As you can see on your screen, that the person who is sitting is having the different part, having the impact of the mantra from the on the different part of his body. That is Om Bhurvasvara Savituruvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimati Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. So it is considered as one of the most scientific versification in the world. And if we get the time, we shall discuss it at the later. Certain ironies also has been mentioned in the case of this epic, as you can see on the screen, that first of all, a warrior goes down to the ascetic. As we have discussed that Parsuram was an ascetic. Sri Ram is a warrior by birth, warrior by nature, warrior by his duties. He goes down to the ascetic. That is the irony that the common man can feel, that how a warrior or a prince can go down to the ascetic. But that is what is the message that our epic is conveying to the humanity, that it is good to go down to the person from whom we can have something to learn instead of having the conflict. That is the first irony that Ramayana has produced in front of us. Second is, but obvious, as we can see on the screen, that Sri Ram, on my back, you can see Sri Ram with Sita and Lakshman, his younger brother. They are in the search of passing the 14 years of exile. Now, the prince and princesses, according to the clothing, you can see that, that nobody can say that they are the prince and princess. So this was also, that the prince as a wayfarer in the forest was the second irony in the case of this epic. And the third is, the most world-renowned, that I would say that has the deep message to merge the tribal lifestyle with the cultural social hegemonies. Now, the incident I need to take some time with the permission of the Martina ma'am, that Sri Ram, when he was on the search of Sita, happens to meet Sabri, the old tribal lady, as you can see on the screen, that he happens to meet her. But at the same time, she was from the tribal part and he was a prince. As you can see on the back side, there is a Lakshman, his younger brother. Lakshman don't like that his brother, who is a prince himself, takes fun of eating the fruit which have been pre-tasted fruits by this tribal woman. There is a kind of jealousy in the mind of Lakshman that we prince, we the gifted people should not go to that level that we eat the pre-tasted fruits by the tribals. That's the biggest irony that has come out of this incident. But it was the taste of this fruit only that brings out the map of finding out Sita, who was abducted by the Ravan. It was the guidance of the Sabri to ask Ram to go towards the Rishyamukh mountain, and from that mountain, Sri Ram happens to meet a monkey god, Sri Hanuman, and then the entire search for the Sita gets its speed. Now, as you can see on the screen, there are 4 geographical descriptions. As you can see, that during 14 years of exile, Sri Ram, Lakshman, and Sita, 3 of them have spent their lives in the woods only. I need to correct the spelling check. And then you can see that this wood is like here, and that is what we can see over there on the right-hand side corner of the slide. Next is the description. In the next beautiful description of the geographical place is the Jal Samadhi in the Saryu river of Ayodhya by the request of Brahmaji and Yamra by Sri Ram. The hero is merging himself into the water at the end of the story. Now, this is new for the Western people, but this is the tradition in India when a person who satisfies with his life or the performance of his life, he ransacks his life and he merges himself into the water. And Sri Ram did the same. There is a deep message behind this Saryu River, and at in the present time also, Saryu River exists in the Ayodhya, the North India, and that is one of the most celebrated place during the Diwalis. For the Europeans, I would say that it has its own credit to have the Guinness Book of World Record of having the lamps and the celebration during Diwalis. Just after a few days, it would be on the international news, the Saryu River, where Sri Ram merged or submerged his life. He gave up his life in the river. And right now we are celebrating his, the Diwali, the celebration of Diwali on that same place itself. Now, after this incident, with the help of this incident, there is one, eternal law of destruction that is hidden behind it. That is, that even the gods have to ransack on the submerge their life for the law of nature. That is, everything is changing, everything is decaying. And that is what we learn from the Ramayana. And then Sri Hanuman, on the backside, you can see that he brings out the mountain to save the life of Lakshman, who was hit by the enemies on the, the side of Lanka. And then to save his life, he has to bring out the mountain. And before he brings out the mountain, he had to pay down proper, homage to the mountain. And that's why out of that mountain, the medicine that is called the Sanjeevani could reach to Lakshman, and it saved the life of younger brother of Ram, that is Lakshman. And then after they made the victory in the war against the Ravan. Now, this medicine has recent reference in the contemporary time when India has miraculously helped the foreign countries. At the same time, it saved the thousands of lives in the contemporary time. This epic and its impact can be found during the Corona especially, that the Operation Sanjeevani, that India sent the Corona vaccines to the entire world, was on the basis of that mountain, for which medicine Sri Hanuman, as you can see on the screen, brought out that mountain was called the Sanjeevani. And in the contemporary time, during the the critical time of the Corona, Indian government itself gave the name of the project to save the world lives throughout the world called Sanjeevani. So the epic is alive even till the day. Now, when after this knowing that Ravan has abducted the heroine of the epic to Lanka, Sri Ram had to sort out the issue between the monkey, the army of monkey, and making the entire army to reach to the Lanka, which was far away, and in between there was the ocean. So first of all, there is a worship by Sri Ram on the sea coast, as you can see, he is standing at the Rameswaram, having the bow and the arrow in his hand. And then, as we can see on this other side, on the right-hand side, there is the king of ocean. That is, that in the Greek literature also there is a king of ocean, and even in our Eastern culture there is the king of ocean. He comes out when Sri Ram takes the bow in his arm and to try to, evaporate water from the ocean. Then the king of ocean comes to have mercy, and that plea of mercy that even if you if you hit me with your arrow, because Sri Ram was the god himself, incarnation of the god himself. If he shoots his arrow, means the ocean will dry, and if the ocean gets dry, then all the living entities at the bed of the ocean will die automatically. So the ocean comes to, explain everything to the Sri Ram. Sri Ram himself mercifully allows the ocean to live his life accordingly. And instead of drying the ocean, he plants the bridge, the first bridge of love on the planet Earth. And then the mantra that, the slope comes into the Ramcharitmanas is called Vinayna Manat Jaldi Jaldi Jad Gaye Tini Dini Biti Bole Ram Sakop Tab Bhai Binu Hoy Na Priti. That is one of the most, influential lines even till the day. Bhai Binu Hoy Na Biti, Priti means there cannot be love without any kind of fear factor. And that is how the ocean comes to meet Sri Ram on that occasion. And Sri Ram accordingly allows the ocean to live his life as usual. And then instead of having the conflict, Sri Ram asks to have Setuban. Now Setuban is between, as you can see on your screen, the shortest distance between the India and Sri Lanka. And again, I must make you people realize that why it is called, the war against, and why there was a need of having the bridge between India and Sri Lanka. The reason was that Ravan had abducted the heroine of the epic, that is Sita Mata, and to bring her back, Sri Ram builds the first bridge of love on the planet Earth. Now, my words, mark my words, please. The first bridge of love on the planet Earth. Why it is the first bridge of love? According to the NASA, on the satellite vision of the NASA, they could make it realize that this was the first bridge ever made by any human. And that is the reference inside the epic, that is Ramayana. Now, according to them, according to the NASA, if it was the first, they gave it the name of Adam's Bridge. And that's why this, and we know that the Christianity came very late into the 15th and 16th century to India, but they gave the name of Adam's Bridge to this bridge, the NASA people. But one thing they were agreed that this was the oldest bridge on the planet Earth, and the dating of the archaeological survey goes back to the 10,000 years, approximately the same dating of the Ramayana when it took place in the actual thing. Now, why I am behind, focusing upon this incident of the Setuban, the bridging between the India and the Sri Lanka, the reason is that there was in 2003-4, there was a project by government of India that was to destruct this bridge, that excavation of this bed of the ocean for the sake of uranium. The government of India and government of Sri Lanka came together to dig out the seabed of that place, and out of the digging they would get the uranium. There is a huge potential natural resource of uranium, and we know that in atomic bombing and the atomic energy, the uranium is how much valuable. To get this, this natural resource, the government wanted to destroy this part of the ocean. But fortunately, with the reference of Ramayana, it was not possible for the government to take the risk, because this would have been the disaster for the then government, and the government decided to hold this excavation of the seabed. Means the epic, for the first time in the world, it would be the best example that it is not the first poetic expression of any poet in the form of epic, but at the same time this is the first epic which has its role in preventing the natural disaster in the form of Setuban. That is what we have mentioned in the case of Ramayana. So it becomes very much important for us to read this text according to, from the perspective of natural preservation. Now, as I have mentioned, this is the, satellite view of the Setuban, and there is two oceans that are coming there. And as I have mentioned, in the case of Ramayana, it has mentioned like that when the Lord Ram gets agreed with the king of ocean, the Samudra Dev, he says, Sindhu bachan suni Ram sachiv boli, Prabhu as kahevu, ab bilambu kehi kam, karhu setu utre tatu. Means if you are going towards the Lanka, that is on the right hand side, as you can see on the screen, then from India, if we have to reach there, that is a Rameswaram, from where one of the president of India also hailed, that is APJ Abdul Kalam. From here, it is the bridge between India and the Sri Lanka, the shortest distance between the India and the Sri Lanka. Government wanted to dig it out, but unfortunately, fortunately, they had to put a hold upon this project, and that's why the natural life have been preserved by after that project. Now, if we go by the binary oppositions of the deconstructive theory, nature versus culture, culture versus nature. So this is a wonderful picture. That is a monkey god Hanuman is breaking the pearl necklace and putting each pearl and breaking it down, trying to find out the face of Sri Ram inside the pearl. This necklace was gifted to him by the heroine of the Ramayana as a gift after coming back from Lanka to Ayodhya. On that gift, Hanuman tries to find out the Lord Ram. He breaks this pearl string, and then you can see on the screen he tried to bring out the Ram amongst the old. And that is what, in the contemporary time, which is missing the most, is the, the affiliation with which we are supposed to affiliate it. Means human being is not attached to the nature which has preserved human civilization since the ages. We are not one with the nature at the same time, and that causes the disaster for all of us in the time to come. So in case of monkey god, Sri Hanuman, as you can see, he was so constant with Sri Ram and the hero of the epic that brings out him to break out the pearl string as well. And then he proves that if Ram is not there, then it is of no use. As you can see on your screen, that is cultural exam of Sita and natural absorption. The cultural exam, that if Sita comes out from the Lanka with Sri Ram as a victorious lady, but the civilization of the then cultural India could not accept her, that if she comes back from this kind of, the abduction by the enemy, she must not be the pious lady. She must have some relationship with the abductor or the villain or the enemy. So that she had to sit on the pyre of fire, as you can see. That was the cultural demand from her. And she passed this exam, and out of the fire, she comes back, victorious. And that, as you can see, Ram and Lakshman and all are standing there, and they are visualizing the fire test of Sri, Sita Mata. Now, after that, when everything happens, then also Sri Ram had to send her back to the ashram of Valmiki, the composer of the Ramayana. And from there, when she comes back, culture was not able to accept her. Instead of culture, she was absorbed by the nature. When the culture rejected, pious lady like Sita, the central figure, the heroine of the epic, then she takes, she submerged herself inside the earth, because earth, according to the epic, is considered as the mother of this, actual mother of this heroine, the central figure of the Ramayana. And then she goes inside the, merge herself inside the uh, earth. You can say the earth breaks down and then she submerges herself into the earth, as you can see on your screen. The last message of the Ramayana that is most important for us, that Ram himself shares with the Sabri. As I mentioned earlier, as we have seen the photograph, and then I said that we will have the discussion later on. This is the wonderful photo, and that brings out how this epic brings us very near to the nature, that the tribal people have been bestowed with the blessing, best of the blessings by the God himself, that the Ma Sabri, who is offering the food, tasted food to Sri Ram, was gifted by Sri Ram one of the most influential message, and that is message of Navdha Bhakti, the 9 way of having the devotion towards the Almighty, or you can say the highest power on the earth. And this Navdha Bhakti, that 9 part of the this life starts from the Pratham Bhakti Santan Kar Sanja, that you be in the company of the the best of the people. Now, to bring it to your notice that Sri Ram don't share this message, the most important wisdom, to any of the civilized people, but see, he categorically shares this age-old wisdom to the tribal Sabri only, who is offering him a tested food. And then out of this 9 bhakti, that first, second, Pratham Bhakti, Santan Kar Sanga, Dusri, Retimam Katha Prasanga, Guru Pada Pankaj, Tisri Bhakti Aman, Pankaj Seva, Tisri Bhakti Aman. Out of that, the 7th Bhakti, the 7th way of devotion towards the Almighty, brings out that Satav Sam Mohi May Jag Dekha, Mute Sant Adhik Karle. Now, it says that entire world has to be looked as my part only, that nothing to believe that this is human and that is civilized and that is uncivilized. Everywhere I reside, I am in the all this, Satav Sam Mohi Mai Jagadekha. Entire world is the part of myself. And now, if I bring it to very close to it, in the Bhagavad Gita also, Sri Krishna himself says, Mame Vansu Jiva Lokem Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The same thought comes here in the Ramayana. Now, after that, it says that Naume Ekau Jinke Hoi Nari Purus Sacharachar Koi Soi Atisai Priya Bhamini Mole Sakal Prakar Bhakti Drad Tore. Now, because of her, this devotional way, devotional approach to Sri Ram shares the ultimate wisdom of life to her only. Now, what is the ultimate wisdom for all of us out of this epic? I will conclude in 2 lines. That first is, दया धर्म का मूल है, पाप का मूल अभिमान, तुलसी दया न छोड़िए जब लग घट में प्राण. Tulsidas, who transcreated Ramayana into the form of Ramcharitmanas, gives wonderful message to the humanity in 2 lines. Daya dharma ka mool hai, means mercy is the root of entire thing called religion. That if you don't have the mercy, you are not following the religion. Paap ka mool abhiman, if you are arrogant, if you are egoistic, this is the reason, or this is the root of all the evil doing. Means if you are becoming so arrogant, so egoistic, you are supposed to commit any crime, any evil doing, or you can say you are going to become the villain. The same such message, that same such wisdom we find in the case of Ved Vyas, who has written the 2nd most significant epic of India, that is called the Mahabharata. Out of writing all these things, even Ved Vyas also comes out with the same line, same such line, that is called Paropkaraya Punyaya Papaya Parpidan. Means what is good deed, what is, this performance, the ultimate performance of human life, it is called the help of other, Paropkaraya Punyaya. Without having any expectation, what you do good for the others. That is called the good deed, ultimate pious deed by any person. This is called the Paropkaraya Punyaya Papaya Parpidanam. And what is the sin? What is the ugliest action by human being? Vedas say, Papaya Parpidanam. If you make somebody miserable, if you make somebody's life problematic, that is the ultimate sin on the planet Earth. So with this note, I would say that in all the dimensions, and I'm thankful to the subject that has been assigned to me and selected by the selectors, that brought me into the detail of the Ramayana, one of the most significant texts which has to be read from the angle of eco-critical opinion more depthly. What I have done, it can be done more precisely, and in the time to come, I would be happy to bring out another passage of the Ramayana. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions from our attendees? Okay, probably not. So again, thank you very much for your participation. It was very, very nice and very informative. And today, the next session, because there is some event going on at our university, the next session then continues at 11 o'clock Central European time.
Thanks a lot, madam. Thanks a lot.